Hey, remember new comic books? Well, Tom Taylor certainly does, because this week we got to see the grand finale of DCeased Unkillables, issue number 3, so let's hop on in together and find out how this zombie horror epic concludes. So, picking up from where the last issue left off, and yes, I know that's been a very long time, but thankfully you have me in these videos to remind you what you missed. Red Hood and a group of other anti-heroes and assorted supervillains had taken up at an orphanage in Bloodhaven with hopes of waiting out the zombie apocalypse after getting abandoned by the rest of the superhero community, who went off to found a new planet. Things were actually going pretty well until a very hungry Mirror Master started biting people through reflective surfaces, and doing so spreading the disease to powerhouses like Bane. Now, Deathstroke, Gordon, and the others had actually spent a lot of time teaching these kids to defend themselves, and they're more than willing to go into the fray to try and kill some zombies, but again, they gotta be adults in this situation and make sure no one gets hurt. With the only safe place left in Bloodhaven Fallen, they only have one choice left, and that is to try and make it to Gotham City and Poison Ivy's Garden Sanctuary. Of course, that's a logistical nightmare. They gotta load up 40 kids into 2 buses and 1 Batmobile to try and make it cross-country in hopes that Poison Ivy will even let them all in to begin with. To say nothing of the actual sea of anti-life that's waiting for them outside their very doors, and once they do get to Gotham City, things don't get much easier as poor Red Hood and Ravager get hit by a missile. But wait a minute, that's no missile, that's a Wonder Woman, probably not too long after killing Cyborg when the main DC series ended. And wouldn't you know it, keeping with the major theme that Taylor has been playing with since all of this began, this idea that at the end of the world, when people's backs are against the wall, people show you what they're made of. And in some cases, like Cheetah, Solomon Grundy, and even the Creeper of all people, show that despite living lives of unrepentant villainy, they're actually made of more sterner, heroic stuff. After all, they've come to quite like these kids after all the time they've spent with them, and as such, they're willing to wade on in and sacrifice themselves if it means the children can survive. They're not the only ones making the ultimate sacrifice too, and again, keeping with this much bigger theme at play here of the older generation passing off the world to the younger generation, Lady Shiva, who has only been characterized as cold and unfeeling, actually gets on in there to try and save her daughter from getting eaten by the zombie horde. Why, before it's all said and done, she even tells Cassandra that she loves her. Now, obviously, Lady Shiva is a pretty hardcore lady and refuses to get turned into a zombie. Instead, she rips out her own beating heart. Now, that right there is the definition of hardcore visual poetry. Now, 3 issues in, and only at the very end, you might be asking yourself, where does the title Unkillables come from? Well, you might think that it means that all of these different people we've been following around for whatever reason are somehow immune to the zombie plague, and you're right, but the real title of Unkillable goes to Deathstroke. He holds out longer against the undead horde than anyone else. After all, he can keep on fighting so long as all of his organs are still in place, and that's exactly what he intends to do so his daughter Ravager and Jason can escape to hopefully build a better life, one that he couldn't build for his kids, but one that he's more than happy to die for right now, again showing that he's a far cry from the self-centered mercenary we all know. He actually cares about things now. Unfortunately though, with Wonder Woman hot on the trail of the escape bus, it looks like the kids don't have much time left. Everyone who could actually challenge Wonder Woman is seemingly dead right now. Or are they? With the utterance of a single word though, the tide changes, and that word is Shazam! Yeah, for you see, one of the kids we've actually been following around this whole time turns out to be none other than Mary Marvel. She was afraid to use the power Shazam after watching Billy get torn apart by zombies. She didn't want to see this great power corrupted. But now that she's literally everyone's last hope, she decides to get her head in the game, and oh man, is she in it to win it. After all, this isn't just regular Mary Marvel, this is Mary Marvel who studied under Deathstroke and the other supervillains to be a more effective killer. And with that, she summons up everything she has to re-kill Wonder Woman, hopefully for good this time, but who knows. And as the comic comes to a close, Red Hood and the others finally do manage to make it inside Poison Ivy's garden, a brand new Eden where they're not alone. John Constantine, Dr. Fate, Zatanna, and a bunch of the other magical heroes have already set up shop there. And they hope that together they can give all of these kids a world worth fighting for, one where maybe they can fix the mistakes of the past, but until then they will honor the heroes of the present. For they may have lived like supervillains, but they became saviors and died as heroes. Also, tree lobsters, never forget the tree lobsters. And so that was DCeased Unkillables issue number 3, everybody, and I gotta say, what a stellar conclusion to what ended up being a truly stellar miniseries, one that used the events of the main DCeased series to shine a very friendly light on the anti-heroes and villains who actually prove that they're a lot more deeper, complex, and interesting than we ever gave them credit for. I know I've said it before, but I think it bears repeating because what DCeased really taps into is this idea that we love zombie fiction, we love end-of-the-world fiction because it's really show what you're worth fiction. There's also a beautiful theme at work here too of parents and their children, not just the literal parents, but the figurative parents too. This series was a real winner from start to finish and a great addition into what is quickly becoming the DCeased universe between the original series, the special one-shot, this new miniseries, and now the brand new digital series that dropped this week. The best part about it, too, is I think you could give this book to anyone so long as they're a fan of superheroes or zombies. I think they'd really find something to enjoy with it, and at only 3 issues, it's a really strong, concentrated read. I would give this one a 10 out of 10. This was a real good time.
Hey there everyone, Cape Joel again, and I want to thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. As always, if you liked what you see, be sure to like, subscribe, comment. It really helps drive engagement and helps me out too. Also, if you are a patron, which you can become for as little as $1 a month, you will get exclusive content that no one else can ever see, and you'll get to see the Comic Multiverse podcast before anyone else too. You can check out all this and more down in the description. And until next time everyone, this has been Cape Joel, and I'll see you all next time. Cheers.